I just had this idea, oh, we should live in the mall.
It seemed like a very absurd fantasy and perhaps a great challenge.
So, as the story goes, in 2003, a group of 8 Rhode Island artists created a secret apartment in the Providence Place Mall. They lived there for 4 years. Their saga now the subject of an incredible documentary, Secret Mall Apartment, which opens today at the Alamo Drafthouse in downtown LA.
Yeah, and with more, we're joined by the film's director, Jeremy Workman. Jeremy, wow, I hear you guys are getting great reviews. It's 100% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes.
It is indeed.
Yeah,
Secret Mall Apartment.
I love it, love it. All right, so how did you stumble across this project?
I mean, it's so crazy. So this is this like urban legend in Providence where these people, like in the early 2000s, there was 8 of them, and they snuck into this mall and lived there, and they filmed everything while they were inside. And it was this sort of stance against gentrification. You know, they were making this big grand gesture. I met the main person in Greece, Athens, Greece. And I was in a building that was covered in incredible masking tape art.
Yeah.
And it turns out, as for people that'll see the movie, this is the world's most acclaimed tape artist, which I didn't even know was a thing.
Yeah.
Nobody knew it was a thing. But he does these incredible murals in tape art. And I was blown away. I met him, and at one point he told me that he lived in the mall secretly for 4 years with 7 other people.
So, of course, you're talking about Michael Townsend. The story hinges on this character, the so-called ringleader of the apartment operation. Watching him, the term American original comes to mind. What do you say?
I mean, he's a real genuine, like, iconoclast. Like, this is somebody he's an artist, he's a deep thinker, but he was going into the mall, like, he wanted to make a stand that, you know, the mall came into this city, Providence, it leveled and demolished this whole area where he lived. So he was just like, I had this harebrained idea. They're going to sneak in the mall and try to come up with some way to protest. They found this space, and he decides that we're going to move in.
Wow, crazy. All right. Well, there was a Letterboxd review of the film that really encapsulates the experience. And this user wrote that came for the secret mall apartment and stayed for an unexpectedly wholesome story about a guy and tape. I guess that's what you're talking about, tape. Okay. Yeah, this film really is so much more than just about this apartment, as you're saying.
You know what's so neat is that it's one of those stories, like, you know, you hear this, like, in this town, you know, these stories that are what they call like a Trojan horse story, you know, where you go in thinking it's one thing and you kind of come out realizing, like, wow, it was not what I expected. Obviously, this is like one of the greatest pranks that has ever been captured on film. It's like the prank to end all pranks. But what's so interesting about it is while they were in the secret apartment, literally while they were, you know, living inside this mall, they were also doing all this incredible other artwork. Most of it voluntarily, charity, without any recognition, no money. They were going into hospitals. They were working in cancer wards. They were creating memorial art for 9/11 victims. And this was all going on while they were like in the secret apartment, going into the food court, going to the movies, and like having like the time of their lives.
The big question you attempt to address in this film is why? Why build the secret apartment? The film talks about that blurring of the line between art and life, and I think someone in the film paraphrases Michael Townsend as saying there is no line between art and life. Are you able to put your finger on it?
I'm not. You know, one of the neat things for me, like when I was making this, was that this idea of the secret apartment. Now, you got to remember, it's about 700 square feet. It's in this weird part of the building. You can't find it on a blueprint. You have to like go through caverns to get to it, walk across I-beams. It's not anywhere, like it's not, it's a nowhere space.
Right.
You know, and it's dark and dirty. And what was so amazing about it for me was that it was also like, it would like shapeshift for me in terms of the story. You know, at the beginning I was like, wow, this is the world's greatest prank. And then over the course of the movie, I'd be like, wow, this is this incredible protest against, you know, development and gentrification. And then other times, like what you're saying, I was like, no, this is this weird art project where their lives were art. So it just kind of like hits on this thing where it's always evolving. And
Yes.
I think that's what's really neat about it.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch and see how did they find the space? How did they sneak in the couches?
It's all
cement
in there.
blocks,
Yeah.
all
You
that,
see
right?
footage of them building a wall out of cinder block.
Yeah.
They bring in 2 tons of cinder block one by one and build a wall
And almost get caught.
many times. Like there's footage of them narrowly,
right.
getting away from security,
Yeah.
going through alarms, timing how they're getting in the mall each day.
Oh.
It's incredible. I just you watch the footage, you're like, is this real? This is fake.
Nervous for them.
Yeah.
All right. Now I know for years, Michael, I guess the Mr. Tape Man there, he was basically the face
Yes.
of this, and then the other 7 participants didn't come forward, but you somehow convinced them to finally talk to you. How did you do that?
I must be pretty persuasive. No, but I think it was, they went many years with people coming to them wanting to make a documentary, wanting to make a scripted version and, like a fiction film of it.
Yeah.
And they always said no for years and years. And I found myself just in this kind of lucky position where I was like, wow, I'm just so interested in the context and the story of Providence. And, even though I'm from LA.
Right.
I grew up in Los Angeles, but I was just fascinated by how this story fit in the bigger picture of this city, and I think that's what really convinced them that they found a filmmaker that they trusted. And it just went a long way.
So before expanding, it opened in Providence in theaters to big numbers.
Yeah.
Why was it important for you to go the theater route as opposed to streaming?
So, but one thing to note is it opened in the Providence Place Mall, the actual mall.
Where they used to get their popcorn.
Yeah, where this happened. So you're literally watching this movie now in the theater, in the place of the scene of the crime.
Yeah.
The secret apartment is 200 feet below the movie theater where you could watch it in Providence now.
Oh my
But
gosh.
to get to your point, we wanted this. We knew that this was a really fun movie. It was audiences loved it. It was joyful. It was funny. It was entertaining. And we're just you know what? People love going to the movie theaters, and a lot of movies aren't going that direction. So we saw an opportunity, and we're just this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like full circle.
Yeah.
And then I understand Michael, his ban got lifted. He was allowed to go back in. So
Yeah.
again, full
Yeah.
circle on the Mr. Tape Man's part too.
Totally. And our executive producer is Jesse Eisenberg, the actor, and he loves it too. He's loves going to the mall, or not the mall, to the movie theater where it's playing, mostly in New York, and he's doing Q&As and just loves being involved in this. So I think it's tapping into something where people just are reminded a little bit about a little movie, a little independent movie, a documentary, but seeing it in a theater is really fun, and it's a great time.
The Secret Mall Apartment. Jeremy Workman, good to have you in.
Thanks for having me.
We could go the whole half hour without a run.
Thanks for having me.
Wonderful to
Really
meet
thrilled
you.
to talk to you guys.
Can't wait to see it.
Coming right back with a look at the forecast. And there's a look at the billboard for this movie playing tonight in Los Angeles.